Warm greetings, everyone. Peace be upon you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Christine Leonardo, and I serve as Program Officer and Global Coordinator of the Faith and Positive Change for Children, Families, and Communities Initiative at Religions for Peace. Per the long-standing tradition of Religions for Peace, please join me for a moment of shared meditative silence before we begin our virtual event. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to welcome you all to our virtual event, Women of Faith Transforming Communities Through Multi-Religious Action. The main objective of today's event is to highlight the vital role and contributions of religious and faith communities with a specific focus on women of faith in addressing systemic inequalities, strengthening institutional responses, and mobilizing communities to support women and girls in overcoming poverty and economic barriers. Our event will start with welcome and opening remarks, followed by a panel discussion and closing remarks. And without further ado, please allow me to introduce our speakers for the opening session. We are honored to have Dr. Francis Kuria, Secretary General of Religions for Peace, Ms. Agus Galmarini, Senior Program Officer in the Gender Equality Division of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we will also have hear from a pre-recorded video message from Dr. Kezevino Aram, President of Shanti Ashram and Co-Moderator of Religions for Peace, and also a recipient of the Religions for Peace 2024 Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award. Without further ado, Dr. Kuria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Christine. Friends, colleagues, it's so delightful to join you today at this webinar. Wherever you are around the world, I greet you and welcome you to this webinar that is being held at the sidelines of the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Distinguished guests, esteemed panelists and friends, it is a profound honor to welcome you all to this critical conversation, Women of Faith Transforming Communities Through Multi-Religious Action, convened by Religions for Peace on the sidelines of the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. This year, we mark the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action, a framework, a historical framework that remains one of the most visionary global commitments to advancing gender equality. Yet, as we gather today, we must acknowledge that despite the progress made, the promise of gender equality remains unfulfilled for far too many women and girls around the world. The latest reports of the Sustainable Development Goals and the pace of those goals, particularly Sustainable Development Goal number 5, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, paint a sobering picture. At the current pace of progress, it will take an estimated 300 years to eradicate child marriage, 286 years to close gaps in legal protection and remove discriminatory laws, and 140 years for women to achieve equal representation in leadership and politics. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent millions of lives, aspirations, and futures being held back, unfulfilled, and at risk. The challenges we face are further compounded by conflict, climate change, economic instability, and persistent structural barriers that continue to marginalize women and girls. According to the UN Women, nearly 1 in 3 women worldwide experience gender-based violence, and in many parts of the world, women's access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities remains disproportionately limited. But despite these dark realities, there is great hope. Hope that is embodied in the resilience, leadership, and enduring commitment of women of faith who are at the forefront of social transformation. Across every region, women of faith serve as educators, peacemakers, advocates, and community builders, mobilizing their community to address pressing social injustices, respond to crises, and uplift those most in need. At Religions for Peace, we recognize that achieving gender equality is not merely a policy goal. It is a moral and spiritual imperative. Women of faith are not only essential participants in multi-religious action, but also its most dynamic leaders. They have long been challenging harmful traditions, advocating for justice, and pioneering initiatives that build bridges across divides and across faiths and cultures. That is why today's gathering is important. We are here not just to speak about gender equality, but to act. Through today's discussions, we will celebrate the courage, vision, and impact of the women of faith, highlight their key strategies to accelerate gender justice, including the Women of Faith, Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award. This award is a powerful reminder that the contribution of women of faith must be seen, valued, and sustained. It is a call to recognize their leadership, not just in words, but in real action and investment. I extend my deepest gratitude to our esteemed panelists and to all of you who are joining this dialogue. May today be a catalyst for renewed commitment, stronger partnership, and transformative action. The key word here is action, as we work towards a world that is grounded in shared human flourishing. Thank you very much, and back to you, Elise.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuria. I would now like to give the floor to Ms. Agus Galmarini. Ms. Galmarini, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining from across the world. My name is Agus Galmarini, and I am honored to represent the Gates Foundation today. It is a privilege to be here among such a distinguished gathering of faith leaders, scholars, and advocates, people united by a shared commitment to justice, dignity, and equality. I'm especially excited for today's event because of the fundamental truth that underpins it, the recognition that women of faith have always been catalysts for transformation. Women faith leaders are not just the heart of their communities, they are the architects of peace, the protectors of the vulnerable, and the champions of justice. Whether in houses of worship, at the front lines of humanitarian efforts, or in policy forums, they bring both moral clarity and practical action to some of the world's most pressing challenges. Faith is one of the most powerful forces shaping societal norms and behaviors, and women of faith are uniquely positioned to influence both. They shape how families, congregations, and entire communities think about equality, dignity, and opportunity. That is why investing in their leadership is not just important, it is imperative. At the Gates Foundation, we recognize the indispensable role that faith leaders play in advancing health, equity, and opportunity. Across our work, we are committed to partnering with faith leaders to improve the lives of women, girls, and their communities, with a particular focus on engaging women faith leaders across traditions. In Kenya and Nigeria, we are working with local organizations to support faith leaders in increasing community support for behaviors and actions that can improve health and livelihoods. Through a partnership with Georgetown University and the Hilton Foundation, we are investing in Catholic Sisters, supporting a fellowship for African sisters that includes leadership, communication, and issue-specific training, helping them become even stronger champions for gender equality. Through all these efforts, faith leaders are driving change within their communities and around the world in ways that are locally led and deeply rooted in faith values. We believe women's leadership is vital in the world today. We believe faith leaders, their influence, values, and actions can be transformational in addressing the challenges we are all working so hard to solve. And when we bring these two together, the perspective and leadership of women and the conviction and power of faith, it creates one of the most essential and impactful voices in our world today. I am deeply honored to be here and to listen to the great leaders and experts in attendance. The wisdom and experience in this virtual room are immense, and I look forward to learning from each of you about the challenges women of faith face, the solutions they have pioneered, and the partnerships that are making a difference. Thank you for your leadership, your vision, and your unwavering commitment to a future where all people, regardless of gender, religion, or background, can flourish. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Galmarini. At this moment, I would please allow me to present a pre-recorded video message from Dr. Kezevino Aram.
Greetings from India. As the Commission on the Status of Women meets at the United Nations in New York, all of us are looking at what is going to happen, what is going to be reinforced, and what is going to be taken forward in terms of support for women's empowerment. We know this is an important celebration because it also marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and the Platform for Action. Amidst the crisis, the conflicts, the worsening poverty, and still the remnants of the COVID-19 pandemic, the focus on women's empowerment should not be lost. There is much to gain for women across the world, but there is much for society as a whole to gain if women's issues are paid attention to. The Beijing Declaration was a very concrete global commitment. And so, as Religions for Peace, as the world's largest multi-religious organization, collaborates to look at the declaration, but also the work ahead, it is my honor to present to institutions and individuals around the world the work of Religions for Peace. The cause of women, the participation of women, the deployment of women's leadership for issues of shared concern, but also, I think, the deep commitment to peace building is celebrated in many ways. In our structures, we have very strong representation of women. I myself, along with Reverend Koshin Ivano from Rishabh Sakai, serve as co-moderators of this wonderful, wonderful organization that has brought together religious organizations from around the world to do more for peace. But also across, from the global to the local and the local to the global, we have structures that has made possible the presence of women at the table, but also the voice of women to be listened to. It is in this context that Religions for Peace launched the Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Cooperation Award. I was honored to receive the first award along with 4 other colleagues from around the world. And when I received the award, I said, more than anything else, when you value the work of women, when you recognize the work of women, these awards gain greater significance. Again, when these awards are given, you make the work of women more visible. And so on behalf of the Religions for Peace family, the first year laureates, it is my honor to announce the call for nominations for year 2. I hope from across the world we will receive many inspiring stories and testimonies to the leadership of women's work, but also the impact on communities, building on faith, the values that we draw from our religious traditions, but also the call for action, the call for concrete action that transforms our societies and makes them more peaceful. So I invite everybody who works with Religions for Peace, but everybody who considers faith traditions and faith communities as their own to nominate women for this wonderful award. I also call upon the Gates Foundation to see what a unique role Religions for Peace plays in bringing these awards to the most deserving women. And together, I hope in the second year, we will have another great receiving of nominations and honoring of deserving women from across the world. As Mahatma Gandhi said, all work is half done when women are not involved. This is not the case in Religions for Peace. We are equal partners, and we hope to be equal partners in building a peaceful society.
Thank you so much. We are very grateful to Dr. Aram for her inspiring video message and also the announcement of the second call for nominations for the Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award. At this moment, I would like to thank our speakers of the welcome and opening session for providing a solid foundation for the next portion of our program, which is the panel discussion. And please allow me to introduce the moderator of the panel discussion, Ms. Deepika Singh, Deputy Secretary General and Director of Programs at Religions for Peace. Ms. Singh, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Liz. So warm greetings, everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on which part of the world you have joined us. This year, as mentioned, 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the Fourth World Conference on Women and the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. It is also the 25th anniversary of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, and the final 5 years of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals. Therefore, it's quite fitting that during these 2 weeks of the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, the global communities reviewing and reassessing the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action, as well as discussing and deliberating on the progress or lack of progress in gender justice and equity. You know, the data, as we all know, are pretty staggering, and the lack of somewhat meaningful progress in achieving gender parity. You know, the dramatic advancement that we had witnessed starting in the 1970s has in recent decades either really slowed or stalled. However, not all is doom and gloom. As Dr. Kuria said, there is hope, and this hope has been spurred on by leaders such as those who are present here with us. Join me in welcoming our outstanding speakers and panelists, great visionaries and change makers who, inspired by their own faith traditions, have dedicated their lives to serving others. Our first speaker is Dr. Catherine Marshall. Dr. Marshall is a senior fellow at Georgetown University's Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs, and is also the executive director of the World Faith Development Dialogue. For a much detailed bio, please see the chat box. So Dr. Marshall, since you recently spoke with all the recipients of the 2024 Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award and certification of recognition, such a mouthful, we would really appreciate if you could share with us some of your insights on the critical role of women of faith and the impact the award may or may not have had in advancing multi-religious collaboration and action. Dr. Marshall.
Thank you, Deepika, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I had a great privilege in the last 10 days of talking to 5 remarkable women in very far different corners of the world. And of course, the primary question that I was asked by Deepika and others to address was, what was the impact of this award on them and their own work? Perhaps not surprisingly, the answers that I got from all 5 were much more directed to others and to the work of others, demonstrating, I think, a special quality of selflessness, but also a very deep commitment to their work. So just a few points. I think it's rare if we could even find a moment in history when we need more to find new approaches to thinking about peace. The multiplication of conflicts, the complexity of conflicts, and their seeming impossibility to address calls on all kinds of new resources, new thinking. And we can look, I think, clearly to the kinds of people that were honored by the Religions for Peace Award for that. I think second, we know with great conviction that women must be part. We have evidence for that. We also have our observations, and we have our instincts, and we have our faith that shows that women are critical to every kind of action in communities. And in fact, one of the inspirations, I think, from the 5 women that you will be hearing from shortly, or 4, 5, is that they are involved across many different sectors. They are involved in health and education, water supply, religious literacy, a vast number of issues. So that's a second major area which the Commission on the Status of Women is addressing. And the third is that even when the issue of women is brought to the fore, the need to have women at the tables, religious women, women with a religious inspiration, are too often unseen, a quality of invisibility, which sometimes can be helpful, but for the most part is not. And I think that is why the Religions for Peace Awards have such importance in highlighting this particular very diverse, very creative group of people, women, who are working in every corner of the world, all the way from the most grassroots, starting really at the family, but extending to the global stage, whether it's the G20 Interfaith Forum, whether it's the United Nations, the global alliances. They are playing very significant creative roles, and we need to look to and understand. We need to honor them, but we also need to be drawing on their experience, their wisdom, and their insights. So congratulations to all, and I'm very delighted that Religions for Peace is launching the next round, and look forward to reading about, hearing, and hopefully meeting the next honorees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We're always very inspired by your insights. Thank you also for highlighting the selflessness and deep commitment of the women of faith who received the award last year, who inspired by the faith, have been doing outstanding work. As you mentioned, the complexity of the situation and the need requires us to be very innovative and creative, and that leaders such as the ones that we're going to be hearing from need to be supported, acknowledged, and recognized. Thank you. So our next speaker is Professor Dr. Naila Tabara, who's the president and co-founder of Adyan Institution. She's also the co-president of Religions for Peace and the recipient of Religions for Peace Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award in 2024. Dr. Tabara, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Deepika, and thank you, Catherine, also for the introduction. It's an honor to be here with you, and it's still an honor to have received last year the second place of the award. This award was a recognition for my work, but the importance, or for the work of Adyan also that we do, the association that I had, which is Adyan, meaning religions, and it's based in Lebanon. But it's more important than all other awards because it recognizes the woman of faith aspect in addition to the multi-faith aspect. We need this support because in general, the world of faith is a man's world. And this type of support, be it a recognition by awards or by invitations, gives us more credit in the eyes of our religious leaders in our contexts. In my context, for example, the word for religious leader in Arabic is actually religious man. So as if the only leadership in religion can be for men. So this is something that we've been doing for many years, is to mainstream a new expression, which is religious woman. And even at the beginning, the proofreaders would correct this for us, because for them, it's a strange expression. And so bit by bit, they started getting used to it, and it started being used in the media too. This is one aspect. Second thing, I do not believe that there is an essentially different thing that women bring to the table than men. I believe everybody brings something new to the table, but at the same time, I believe that it is unfair not to have certain voices around that table. so that each person should have. So women should have their place on this table, regardless if they're bringing anything new or not, or anything specific different than men or not. The recognition also has been helping in the work that we've been doing recently in working on women's rights within religions, especially in personal status laws. And also now, these couple of weeks, we've been roaming around Lebanon, talking with religious leaders about the need to unread patriarchal interpretations of religion. So also this award and this recognition gives me strength in this type of work. And also it informs other work that we do and that is in line with the strategic principles or the 6 strategic directions of Religions for Peace, especially in what concerns freedom of religion and belief and of conscience and of thought. This is something that we've been working on, and including, of course, women and men and persons from all religions, but also non-religious. And soon we will be having a conference in Lebanon that will gather all the champions of freedom of religion and belief and of expression from the Swana region. Also, of course, it informs our work in multi-faith education that we work on in Lebanon and currently in Iraq and in France, teaching children from their youth about diversity, about different religions, about how to talk with others, how to listen to others, how to empathize with others, how to ask them questions even. How to accept that each religion has its own logic, and to open up to those different religions. Also, our networks in Lebanon, we have networks in Lebanon and in Iraq of religious leaders and women of faith. And these have been doing a lot of work, a lot of reflection together, but also a lot of actions of solidarity. And especially recently, during the war on Lebanon with the internally displaced people, but also during all the last phase during COVID, the economic crisis that we went through, showing solidarity together. Men and women of faith from different religions and sects in different regions, showing action for people. So all of this, of course, is part of our work, and any recognition allows us to go further in our work. And it's not only a recognition for the governance of our organization, but it's also a recognition of every person affiliated to its networks and spreading the message of diversity, solidarity, and human dignity. I look forward also to hearing about the next round of the award, and to meet the women of excellence in multi-faith action that are doing amazing work around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Tabara. We so greatly appreciate your leadership in advancing freedom of thought, conscious religion of belief, and interreligious education, and for the decades of dedication in promoting interfaith understanding. Thank you, too, for emphasizing the need to honor women of faith and their work, particularly since, as you said, it's a man's world, and the importance of having women at the table. We're delighted to hear how the award has helped to further support your leadership and work, so we thank you. Now I have the pleasure of inviting Sister Agatha Chikuli, none of the Daughters of Mary, Mother of Mercy, who's also the Executive Director of Cardinal Onaikan Foundation for Peace. Sister Agatha is also the Chair of Religions for Peace International Women's Coordinating Committee, Co-Chair of the Religions for Peace Nigerian and African Women of Faith Network. And Sister Agatha also is the recipient of Religions for Peace Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award. Sister Agatha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Deepika. I just realized that I have to unmute myself. Good afternoon and good morning, house. Yes, we are here again today to discuss a very important issue concerning all of us women and concerning humanity. And that beautiful discussion wants to start with the award that we received last year. And it is on that note that I want to say that last year, the Religions for Peace actually surprised me, because the award of last year was completely unanticipated. I wasn't expecting it, but it came. It came, maybe as a way of honoring and recognizing the little that we are doing. With the award of the Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award by the Religions for Peace. This award for me, it's not about personal achievements. I don't see it as about personal achievements, what I have been able to achieve by myself alone and by all my efforts. No. For me, it is far, 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 far more than that. It is a confirmation for me, a confirmation of the power of collective action in advancing gender issues, in advancing interfaith cooperation, in advancing peace building all over the world. That was what that recognition meant to me. It reaffirmed the vital role that women, faith leaders, and even other grassroots movements have been playing in shaping our society, in making it to be a much better place than what it is. For me, it underscored the importance of amplifying the voices and building bridges across cultures, across communities, and the rest of them. So since after receiving the award, as I said earlier, I was looking at an award as a kind of collective effort, which is not really something personal, something that came to me through my personal effort. But since after receiving this award, I have actually deepened my commitment, because I told Kathleen the other day when we were talking that there is a popular saying over here that, the reward for recognition, reward for award is hard work. So when you are recognized for something, it means that you are going to work much harder. A lot is more expected of you. So and somehow I took that challenge last year, by deepening more my commitments, in fostering interfaith, actions, in mentoring other women, especially the younger ones, who think that maybe they have something to learn from us, in mentoring them, in strengthening networks of women, of young people, especially in the area of promoting peace and social justice. This, I have done, and collectively with other women through different networks, as I mentioned earlier, especially the network of women of faith. Women of faith. Both in Nigeria, in Africa. I have taken it, I have seen it as something that is, that I am more committed to, in ensuring that women are not just assembled to come so that we have to listen to ourselves, but provide an opportunity that will enable us to continue to build our capacity, continue to empower ourselves, continue to learn, continue to unlearn. That is the area I was focusing much more on since the reception of the award. And that translates a lot, even through our program at the Cardinal Michael Foundation for Peace, through the fellowship program. Because through this program, I have given special attention, special focus to women, selecting women and young people for that fellowship program, where they learn, they build their skills on leadership, on dialogue, interfaith dialogue, on mediation skills. So I have deepened this commitment, knowing that to whom To he whom much is given, much is expected. This is actually a quotation from the Bible. I cannot remember the verse. And that aspect says that to he whom much is given, much is expected. So I look at it that now a lot is expected of you. You have to give back to the society. You have to give back to women. You have to work much harder, to get women to where we should be, to continue to deliver and to even deliver better. So I believe that this award, has not only inspired not just me, but even other women. Because I remember the kind of messages and congratulations and goodwills and the rest of them that I received during that time. So for me, it was more like a way of inspiring other women to work harder. Just as Kathleen said, and some of us already mentioned, we do so much unnoticed. We do so much without people saying as little as you've done well. We don't receive it. But what the Religions for Peace have done through the support from the Gate Foundation is beginning to recognize these little efforts of women. And who doesn't like thank you? Who doesn't like well done, you've done well? Who doesn't like that? Everybody loves that. So this is the reason why I think that we have just started and we are not going to end it here. I'm so happy to see that this award is something that will continue, something that has come to stay, something that will not begin and end with us. I am so happy to say that. So I urge on the Gate Foundation and even other organizations to key into this. We have to support women. We have to work with women. We have to empower women. We have to recognize women. We have to support women. That is the meaning of that award. That is what it meant to me. So it is not just about the award, as I said earlier. It is about all of us and what we can achieve together. This is why I continue to call all of us to join hands together to begin to advocate for human dignity, for peace, for diversity, for inclusiveness. Because these are the only ways through which we can build a world where faith is the force for peace and not division. Together we can achieve lasting peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Agatha. We always so greatly admire your extensive experience in peace building and interreligious dialogue and action. But we also note your humility that you see this award as not an acknowledgement of personal achievement and individual effort, but more of a confirmation of committed action in advancing peace and gender equality, and how this has motivated and inspired you on to work harder, mentor younger generation of women, and learn more and do more. We also thank you for your call to rally around and continue to acknowledge the great work of women of faith and continue such initiative as this award. Thank you so much, Sister Agatha, for that. So now I'm very pleased to welcome Rabbi Joseph Podasnik, who's the Executive Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis. He's also an honorary President of Religions of Peace. Rabbi Podasnik, with your decades of experience as spiritual and educational leader, we would love to hear from you how religious and faith traditions can play a critical role in advancing gender justice and equality, and how can religious leaders like yourself actively support and amplify the voice and contributions of women of faith, ensuring their leadership and impact are recognized and strengthened. Rabbi Podasnik, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deepika. It's always good to be with you. And let me first say that nobody ever complained that a sermon is too short. So I'll recognize the time constraints that all of us have today. Secondly, the Pope Francis said years ago that New York is the capital of the world. So I'm not one who wants to argue with the Pope. So being in New York is also a great moment for me and to be with you. I want to begin with an apology. An apology because as I listen to the need for equality, I also recognize that many of us as men are responsible for the inequality. It's because we haven't done more that women were given less. And we can all look at our respective religious traditions and see that in our books, in our faiths, we do believe in equality. You know, when we look at the story of creation, and God created male and female, he created them. So there's a place for male and female. But I also remember being at a Quaker service, and it was conducted in silence. And I said to one of the leaders there, when does this service officially begin? He said, sir, truthfully, it begins when you walk out of the sanctuary. It's what you do on the outside that determines how sincere you were on the inside. So I think all of us can look at the inside, look at what we see in our respective houses of worship, but as we understand, it's what we do, male and female, when we go outside, that is going to get us to the desired destination. I spoke to a nun, a Sister Jean, in Chicago. She's 103 years old. She wrote a book entitled What I Learned My First 100 Years. And I said to her, what is your secret for longevity? She said, Rabbi, you have to live each day with purpose. And I'd like to think that given what we've heard today and on other occasions, the purpose we come together, men and women, is to do better, to do more, because we have not done enough. In Hebrew, the word for male is ish. The word for woman is isha. The only difference between the two words are the letters Yud Hey, which spell the name of God. So we see male, female, men, women, God. All have to stand, male and female, as equals. Now, here at the Board of Rabbis, we have some 800 rabbis. I'm happy to tell you that in our officer structure, out of 12 officers, 5 are women. I'm not so happy to tell you that when we look at the overall percentage of women who are members of the board, it's 1/3. Frankly, we want to see that it reaches 1/2, so that again, men and women are equal. And I've come to recognize that we are not stronger as men when women are not at the table. We're not going to do better in addressing the challenges, especially the challenges confronted by women, if women are not at the table. And I recall years ago going to the first meeting I was invited to of the Commission of Religious Leaders. And I looked around and I saw the following. I saw a Catholic, I saw a Protestant, I saw a Jew, and I saw that all were male. And I said to one of the leaders of the group, this is very nice, but there's no diversity here, no real diversity. I've seen the same configuration for many years. It's time to make a change. And many of us work together so that when you go to a meeting, there are more women there now, more than before, but certainly not enough. More representatives of other faiths, not enough. But it wouldn't have happened if we didn't work together. So I'm here to say that in that famous movie, The King's Speech, King George VI was a stutterer. And after working with a therapist, a speech therapist, he made this proud statement one day, I have a voice. We all have voices, and we all need to amplify those voices. I can tell you proudly that there is no program at the New York Board of Rabbis without female participation. There is no panel discussion without female participation. And it's not enough just to have one woman and 3 men, so you've tokenized the woman. You have to have that kind of equality that was spoken of by several of you today. I read a story of a young man who ran away from home. His mother was heartsick, so she put up posters all around her neighborhood. Son, I forgive you. Please come home. Your mother had all her name there, his name there. And one day he walked by the poster. He read it and he regretted running away from home. So he walked back and he noticed the door was open. So he walked in. He saw his mom. He says, Mom, I should have knocked, but the door was open. And she said, I just want you to know, I never closed it since the day you left. So I hope as we come here, we're not going to close the door. We're going to leave it open. We're going to have hope. But more than just having hope is doing hope, is walking together so that one day, male, female, all of us will walk through the door as equals, as members of one human family. That's what we said on the inside. That's what we have to see on the outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Podasnik. We greatly appreciate your perspective, not just as a religious leader, but as a man that you presented, and for highlighting the need to work together to ensure equality between man and woman, and that we need to do more and do better. So thank you so much for that. Our next speaker is Ms. Laura Vargas, who is the National Facilitator of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative in Peru, as well as the Executive Secretary of Religions for Peace Interreligious Councils of Peru. Ms. Vargas is also one of the recipients of the Religions for Peace Women of Excellence Multi-Religious Action Certificate of Recognition. Laura, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Deepika. Good morning to all of you. It is a pleasure to be here. In the first place is because I would like to thank all of you for the recognition and for this opportunity to share our experience and our ideas as women of faith. 30 years have passed since the Beijing summit, and this, I think 30 years is enough time to pause, assess the lesson learned, and gather strength to continue moving forward. Because even there's a lot that have been done, and there's an advance in the recognition of women, and it's real, but the path is still very long. No? The progress is significant, but the problems are stubbornly persist and attack and escalate even to femicide. I don't know how you say it. The killing of women is very persistent and is prevalent in our country. No? Every year we count how many women have been killed by their companions or other people in their homes, and the numbers are very stubborn. They are there, no? And that's a call to us. I would like to, when we talk about that women and men, we have a shared humanity. No, we share humanity. And I think this is very strong, very powerful. But we have a shared humanity where one part of the world is governed by a logic or a paradigm that I call the paradigm of dominion. We have to work very hard so that in our work and in our daily life, we can make progress on the other paradigm that is there too. And the other paradigm is the paradigm of care. No? It's in the heart of men. We have the two of them. The one that is the strong one is the paradigm of dominion. But I think that we have lived enough to work very hard so that the other paradigm can really grow and make progress, no? Because if we continue under the paradigm of dominion, the progress that we achieve is going to be weak, and the possibilities of regression are strong. I think that's the reason why I believe very strongly that women must work for a new paradigm, that is this paradigm of care. Care is accompanied the life of human beings since the beginning of history. Care is like the utopian path to a possible synthesis of our reality. And I believe this is this paradigm of care is inviting us to a new ethos. And this new ethos is care as a fundamental form or ways to protect all forms of life. No? In this ethic of care, in this paradigm, we respect, we defend, we protect all forms of life, not only the human life, because our life depends on all the other forms of life, no? And all forms of life are essential for us today, no? In my religious tradition, we are followers of a God of memory that is constantly inviting us not to forget. No? We have to remember his past among us, and we have to remember how we can advance this process of walking towards equality, towards dignity, and towards the empowerment of women. And if you, from where I start thinking in this new paradigm is from an anecdote that I read some years ago from the American anthropologist Margaret Mead. And she was asked what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in humanity. And when she answered the question, because the students maybe were expecting her to talk about the clay pot or the green stone or the fish hook, but no, she said the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture was a femur, the bone of the leg, that somebody fractured and later appeared here. And she explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You cannot get food or water or run away from danger. So you are an easy prey for whatever beasts are around there. And no animal with a broken lower limb survives long enough for the bone to mend itself. So a broken femur that heals is an evidence that someone stayed with a person who broke it, bandage, immobilize the fracture, in other words, care for it. And I think this is a very powerful message, the care, to care for the other. And I think that women, we have this special call, maybe, I don't know how you can express it, but the care is very deep inside of us. We cannot pass by near a person that is suffering and just pass away. We stop. What can we do? We are always asking us, what can we do to protect? What can we do to respect? What can we do for the others? And I think this is a time to empower the new paradigm, a paradigm of care, of respect, of valuing the other. Because too many years, the world has been dominated by the paradigm of dominion. And it's true that big cities have been built, but the sufferings are still there. And for me, this, as a woman of faith, and I always talk about this is a new time, a challenge for building something new, something that is going to mark history in the future and is marking history now, no? The care of the other. This is in our religious tradition. I think that all of us have in the religious tradition what is called the golden rule, no? To do to the other what we want the other do to us, or not do to the other what we don't want others to do to us, no? This rule, this golden rule, I think is very present in what I call this new paradigm, the paradigm of care. Thank you, Deepika, for the award. Thank you for this moment of sharing. I think it's very valuable and very important to continue our work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vargas. You're such an inspiration to all of us, how you dedicated your life to advancing human dignity, not just human rights, but human dignity, and ensuring that our actions are grounded on the care for the others, and that we work to ensure this shared human flourishing. Thank you so much for that. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Melody Amal Khalil Kabalan, who is the co-founder of Etu Zapatos podcast. She's also the president of Islam para la Paz Institute and a member of Religious Obese Latin America and the Caribbean Interfaith Youth Network. Melody is also one of the recipients of the Religious Obese Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Certification of Recognition. Ms. Kabalan is joined by Ms. Barbara Zephyr, who, along with Melody, founded the Etu Zapatos podcast and is also a political scientist and strategic communication consultant. Melody and Barbara, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Ramadan Kareem to whom are observing this blessed month. Okay, I would like to share with you how we started and how we are until today with Barbara working in our podcast. First of all, it's interesting to highlight that at the beginning, when I start working on women of our community, in the case of Muslim women, it was a challenge because even we have more than 1,400 years of history that shows how women were involved into the Islamic revelation, that were companions of the revelation of Prophet Muhammad, and most of the hadiths that were narrated by Prophet Muhammad were written by women. We can say that in the last 10 years, we started in Argentina, in our community, to really know about all of them, to really know about their guidance, their leadership, and how those women were involved into women leadership. And years ago, when I met Barbara, in one of our projects, we start working in a retreat day with young women from different sectors, such as politics sectors, education sectors, and different faiths, religion and non-religion, where we invite them to meet each other and to speak about our challenges and our barriers, maybe probably as women, young, we have within our communities. The experience was just amazing because in this full day of meeting each other, we can find a lot of similitudes that can make us to be more involved with and near each other. And from the diversity we had been learned in our experience as conflict resolutions partners, that the diversity of each of us can contribute to what we don't know or how we see the reality. Our own reality is not the same that the other. And for both, for those people who we believe in peace and in long-lasting peace, we understand that we cannot walk alone. We cannot work alone. That peace is making with the other, with those who think different from our reality, from what we learn in our own communities. And if we want to talk about the leadership and the integration of women in our own communities, it's much better if we work together, right? It's much better if we share our experiences with the other women from the other communities and see how we can help each other. So with Barbara, we learned something that after the tragedy of October 2023, that touched the feelings of our communities, of our religions, of our family and friends. I have family in Lebanon. Barbara has family in Israel, but both we have friends in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Israel, in many, many countries who are connected to what happened after October 2023. So we start to think to do something with the people that was different that we were doing before, that was meeting in person or making project to as just a conference or retreat and etc. So we try to find how throughout the tragedy we can do something to don't lose hope of the word peace. So I will invite my friend and colleague Barbara to continue with our story.
Well, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As Melody told you, I'm a Jew. I belong to the Jewish community here in Argentina. And when I first met Melody at the retreat she was talking about, she was the first Muslim I had ever met in my life. And I thought we had nothing in common. I had grown in a hate speech narrative. And when I met her, we discovered that we had a lot in common, more than we thought. And a lot of that we had in common had to do with us being women, with us being young women, born and raised in the same city, even though we hadn't met each other and we hadn't met anyone in the other community. And we started that long path of working together and strengthening our friendship, and now we are best friends. And after October 7 and after the war in Gaza and in Lebanon, we decided to open our conversations to the general public through using some new media tools, and we decided to host a video podcast, which is available on YouTube, on Spotify. It is in Spanish, but we do have a small recap translated into English in our Instagram account, so that if you want to take a look at it, you can do so. And we discovered that it's having a great impact in our communities, and also it's inspiring others to go and replicate this initiative in their communities, trying to reach the young people, trying to reach those who don't access to these kind of conferences, which are so important. But we want to spread the word and show them. First, we base our strategy in three main things that I think that being women has helped us a lot in this. First, we show each other, we show ourselves together. And this is so powerful. I believe that it has to do with Religions for Peace mission too. But just people seeing us together and seeing that we have a genuine friendship makes a big difference, and inspires them to, inspires curiosity to just come and see what we're talking about. Second, we share our personal stories. And storytelling is something that women also have easier, I believe, because we are a bit more open to our emotions and sharing and showing our vulnerabilities, which is key to de-escalate conflicts. So that is something that we work on. And the third one has to do with talking about our emotions. We try not to get so involved in politics, but to share how we feel. And when we get politics aside, we discovered that we feel exactly the same, that we had been feeling since October 2023, the same. We had been feeling fear, we had been feeling anguish, we have been feeling worried about our friends and our family. And that was when we realized that that is something that we can work on. We can work on building a new narrative of those who are suffering the war, those who are suffering the war inside, and those who are suffering the war kilometers away, because we are all involved in this. And that's something that we are working on and what we're trying to do with our podcast.
Thank you so much, Barbara and Melody. It's always very inspiring to hear from young people so dedicated in working together, and particularly hearing about the podcast and being able to create that safe space to express openly feelings and for young people to come together to talk and even work together. So thank you so much for that. So I move on to our last but not the least speaker, Mr. Umberto Carollo, who's the Chief Executive Officer of White Ribbon, also the Board Director of Men Engage Alliance, and member of Religions of Peace Standing Commission on Advancing Gender Equality. Mr. Carollo has been at the forefront in engaging men and boys as advocates and allies for gender equality. So, Mr. Carollo, based on your experience, may I request you to share some of your insights and recommend effective strategies for promoting healthy masculinities and advancing gender equity. Over to you, Mr. Carollo.
Thank you so much, Deepika, and esteemed colleagues. I bring greetings on behalf of White Ribbon. It's such a pleasure to be part of this dialogue with you. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the recipients of the Women of Excellence Awards recipients. I honor your leadership. I recognize the courageous work that you're doing, and I share in your resolve to work hard to create a world, a society, future that is equal, that is free from discrimination and exclusion for all women and girls. Thank you for the excellent work that you do. I also want to say that the work that White Ribbon does and has done over the past 30 plus years has been possible because of hard work of amazing leaders, women leaders like yourselves, and the work of the women's movement. It's because of that, those efforts, that an organization like ours was able to begin back in 1991 and start this work to engage with men and boys, to promote gender equality, to promote healthy masculinities, and to end all forms of gender-based violence. Our roots is in the December 6, 1989 Montreal massacre, where a young man murdered 14 women who were studying to become engineers at l'École Polytechnique. And he did that with his heart full of hate and the conviction that women had no place in the male-dominated industry like engineering. So here we are, over 30 years later, still talking about the need to promote full inclusion of women in leadership roles, in decision-making, in this particular context, in faith leadership and in faith communities. So our hard work continues, and I want to say that we must do this work together, men and women together, standing shoulder by shoulder, doing this in solidarity, in allyship. The work that we do to engage men in promoting gender equality is about encouraging men to step up, and to join efforts of amazing leaders such as yourselves, and to be there side by side with you and support you and speak together with you and help our world understand that gender equality is good for all of us, that gender equality is especially good for women and girls who for too long have remained excluded from full participation in society, who have been disproportionately impacted by wars and conflicts and everyday violence too, in our homes, in our communities, in our schools, in our institutions, everywhere, and workplaces too. So it's about the work to engage men is about helping men understand that gender equality is good for them too, and that it is their responsibility to be involved in promoting gender equality, that for too long, women and women's organizations, women leaders such as yourself, have had to do this work by themselves, often with great risk, with backlash, with resistance, with men often standing in the sidelines or at times discouraging or fighting against those kinds of efforts. So for us, we have a hard job ahead of us to help men and boys understand that gender equality is something that we should all be working towards, and that it shouldn't just be left for women and women's organizations to carry on. That the stakes are too high, and the opportunities are excellent as well, because as some of you have mentioned, when we achieve full equality for women and girls, men and boys benefit from that too. That promoting equal rights for women and girls doesn't mean removing rights from men and boys. It means elevating everybody's rights and elevating everybody's opportunities and creating an equal playing field for all of us. That gender equality is good for our countries, for our economies, for our institutions, for our workplaces. It's good for our families and our communities, and it's good for our new generations too. We are all interested, especially those of us who grew up with inequality and violence in our lives. We are interested in helping to raise new generations of young people who are full believers in equality and true equality and in ending gender-based violence. So we work with men and boys to help them understand the role that they can play, that positive role, that even if men and boys don't believe in using violence, that they still have an important role to play by speaking out, by making sure that they're part of the solution, by ensuring that their behaviors, their actions, their attitudes, their beliefs are equitable and inclusive and respectful and peaceful, and by making sure that men and boys also stand up as allies in solidarity with women and women's movements and all social justice movements too, in promoting the kind of equality that we're talking about here. And men in institutional in faith institutions have a particularly important role to play too, as individuals, as leaders, and also as a collective of faith members and faith leaders, because so many in our communities look up to our leaders, listen to, come seeking support and comfort and advice. So male leaders have an important role to play as role models in role modeling equality, healthy beliefs, full inclusion, and as the Reverend mentioned, the Rabbi mentioned to us, in that it has to be done both internally and externally as well. So through our beliefs, our actions, our attitudes, and it's not just about us promoting, speaking about the importance of equality, but it's also doing the hard work within ourselves and within our institutions, amongst our peers, calling on our peers to be part of healthy and equal change as well. White Ribbon's pledge, the pledge that was created back in 1991 in response to the Montreal Massacre as a call to action to men and boys, still stands true today. The pledge for men and boys to never commit, condone, or remain silent about all forms of violence against women, gender-based violence, and discrimination. So this is about us not committing violence, so pleading to men and boys to to practice equality, to practice healthy masculinities, to employ those good emotional intelligence qualities, right? The empathy, the compassion, the listening, the believing survivors, right? Because for too long we've been taught, socialized to, to be strong, to never stand down, to always control, dominate. We've been taught that anger is one of the very few emotions that are acceptable for us to fully express, because if we express empathy and compassion, if we talk openly about our griefs, our loss, and our sorrows, that we're all of a sudden no longer men, that we're weak, and so forth. So we have to encourage men to practice a full range of emotional intelligence, to reject those harmful notions of what it means to be a man, to reject those gender and stereotypes that impact women and girls, but also impact ourselves too, in terms of the kinds of decisions that we make for ourselves that are often narrow. They are focused on those strict notions of what it means to be a man. That's kind of defines us, that confines us to those sets of very unhealthy emotions, often which are associated with what it means to be a strong man and real man and so forth. So we have to do all of that and much more. Not staying silent means speaking out against injustices. It means using our platforms, whether it be personal, in our families, talking to the young people in our lives about the importance of equality for women and girls, but also using our leadership platforms in our workplaces, in our institutions, in our communities, to encourage other men to step up and be part of positive change, to support women and women's equalities and women's leaders, and to speak out against injustice when we see it. So never to commit, condone, or remain silent means all of that and so much more. And finally, I want to say that as leaders, as faith leaders, men, women, all of us, all together, we need to really remain vigilant and monitor emerging forms of inequality. We are very, very concerned about the earlier and earlier radicalization of boys and young men into misogynistic, hateful ideologies, in particular, a spread through technology and online platforms. We are seeing a significant resurgence of that kind of ideology, and we have to pay particular attention to young generations, boys and young men, who are being groomed into those ideologies. And those ideologies are quickly moving from attitudes and beliefs expressed online through social platforms and gaming platforms into violence and discrimination in real life. That is a reality today. And I think that faith and faith leaders have an important role to play in educating your constituents, in advocating for change, in working with governments, policymakers, and the technology sector to advocate for better platforms, more equitable platforms that are not promoting hate and misogyny and violence against women. And we're seeing, I just came back from a week in South Korea, and our colleagues, civil society and government colleagues there, shared a very stark statistic with me, which I would like to share with you as well, is that in all the youth who've been arrested and charged with participating in hateful ideologies, in practices online with deep fake, with distribution of misinformation and hateful images, distorted images that promote violence against women and girls. So of all the youth who were arrested for those kinds of behaviors, 84% of them were boys and young men under the ages of 14, which indicates to me that young people are engaging in these kinds of behaviors, this kind of discrimination, misogyny, and inequality at younger and younger ages. And I want to share with you that I'm based in Canada and in North America, We know that statistics are similar, and we're seeing greater involvement and grooming of our younger generations of boys and young men into these kinds of attitudes. So we all have a role to play, and I will leave you with this plea that you support change in this area as well, because we need to work really hard to promote future generations full of equality, that believe in the kinds of good values that those of you who receive these awards are promoting so beautifully. And I want to continue doing that with you, together with you, and supporting you on Religions for Peace in the work that you do. So men and women working together to promote gender equality and ending all forms of discrimination and gender-based violence is possible. It's what we're working collectively to do. We're promoting allyship and healthy masculinities while doing this. We're improving the lives and conditions of women and girls by doing that work. And we're also at the same time improving the lives and conditions for men and boys as well. So that is what works really well when it comes to engaging men in this kind of work, is to see men as part of the solution and to help men understand that they too can play a role, and that this equality is good for them too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carlo. As you rightly pointed out, there is a need not just to speak about it, but also doing the hard work, and that this is a joint effort, men and women working in solidarity and allyship. And thank you for sharing about the how we need to be much more vigilant, and the need for monitoring and addressing the fact that younger and younger boys and men are being groomed. So there is that need for all men and women to come together to work to advance gender equality and ensure there's no discrimination and combat violence against women. So thank you so much for that. I think, do we have time, Liz, to go around for a question, or?
Maybe just one. We have a few minutes.
Maybe I could just ask the panelists, and we've heard such great, insights and sort of, we touched upon a few of the key challenges and opportunities in advancing gender justice and equity. Just to the panelists, I wondered, what message would you like to share with people of faith, men, women, and youth, or no faith, as to how can we work better together to amplify the voices of women and girls, break down systematic barriers, and strengthen their leadership role within their communities. So it was sort of mentioned here and there, but maybe we could have a one round of just your thoughts on this. You could just raise your hands, and then if anyone would like to add anything. Yes, Rabbi Potasnik.
Yeah, thank you so much again for this very, very meaningful discussion today. I think we need to know more about the other. I think we too often operate separately. We call it a separate silo mentality. We know what we do. We don't fully know what the other does. And I think partnerships created would be very, very meaningful for us to go forward. So we started today talking and listening to the other, but I think a relationship needs to be really strengthened. So we work together as one.
Thank you, Robert Potasnik. Yes, Catherine, Dr. Marshall.
I think that the storytelling is a very critical part. The conveying who people are and what they do. I think that perhaps more than the statistics. But a second point that I think is really critical that comes out of each of the stories we've heard today, and the work that we've also done in the past, is how this work for peace needs to be integrated with so many other aspects that are what we call social justice or development or progress or human thriving. So linking the work that these people that we women are doing with men, of course, in many cases, to health, to education, to water supply, to the energy transition, to climate, All of these are very much part of the kind of appreciation for diverse communities, for diversity, which is a fundamental part of modern life, and where I think women play such pivotal, such critical roles, but also that the religious beliefs, the religious institutions and practices cannot be separated from these broader challenges that are reflected, of course, in the Sustainable Development Goals and so forth.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall, for that as well. So we're running out of time. I know that we could go on, continue to discuss this, but I'm sure we'll hear so much more and further. And so just as the last, thank you so much to all the speakers. You are such an inspiration to us all. Thank you. We wish you the best and continuing to lead the wonderful work that you're doing. So thank you so much. With that, I pass it on to Dr. Kuria for the closing remarks. Mike.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deepika, for leading that discussion, and all the panelists for your insights and really some highlight of where we are in many areas, and also the uplifting stories of what is being done to bridge gaps and inspire each other in this. As we come to the close of this webinar, but continue the conversations wherever we are, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each of you, our panelists, our speakers, the participants online, for their wisdom, insights, and dedication, unwavering dedication to gender equality. Today's discussions reaffirmed a powerful truth that when women of faith lead, communities are transformed. We have heard stories of resilience, stories of advocacy, innovation from remarkable women who are actively shaping the future of their societies. Thank you so much. This work serves as a testament to the power of faith-driven action in breaking down barriers, addressing poverty, and championing justice, peace, and equality around the world. Moreover, despite the critical roles of women in conflict resolution, humanitarian response, and social development, women of faith continue to face systemic exclusion from key decision-making processes. And this we need to really confront every day. Religious institutions and faith-based network must do more not only uplift the voices of women of faith and religious women serving within their structures, fully integrate their leadership, every level of governance and policy making. And I was so glad to hear that there are people who are aspiring to increase the level of women leadership from 30% to 50%. So where do we go from here? First, we must move beyond recognition to sustained investment. We, women of faith, have been driving grassroots solutions for generations. It is time that they receive the support and institutional backing necessary to scale their work. Second, we must strengthen interfaith and multi-religious collaboration. The challenges we face, gender inequality, poverty, climate change, are not bound by religion or geography. When faiths communities work together, we unlock unprecedented potential for collective action. And we had that story from Argentina of what can happen when we have genuine knowledge of each other. Finally, we must commit to long-term change. This is not about a single event or a single hour cycle. This is about shifting mindset, dismantling harmful power structures, and building a world where every woman and girl, regardless of faith, background, or circumstance, can flourish. As we officially launch the second call for nominations for the Women of Excellence in Multi-Religious Action Award, I urge all of you to identify, nominate, and support extraordinary grassroots women. And here the emphasis on the grassroots women of faith leaders across the religious for his global movement for this award. Let us ensure that their leadership is not only honored, but strengthened for generations to come. I leave you with a challenge today. Let not this be the end of the discussion, but the beginning of renewed commitment to bold action and collective transformation. Thank you for your engagement, your voices, and your dedication. Together, we can and must build the future where gender equality and shared human flourishing not only a distant aspiration, but an enduring reality. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you today. And God bless you all, and hope to see you very soon. And let's keep the conversation going. Thank you, and God bless you. Back to you, Leonardo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuria. Please allow me to reiterate our deep gratitude to our esteemed speakers and distinguished panelists and all who attended our event. Thank you very much, everyone, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.